Hello, and welcome to a theory resource presentation on problem-based learning. My name is Scott Van, and I'm a student in IDT 7074 at the University of Memphis. Let's examine what is problem-based learning. Problem-based learning is a student-centered instructional theory where students learn about a subject matter through experiencing and solving open-ended problems. Instead of focusing on solving problems with a defined solution, problem-based learning allows learners to develop skills and attributes to solve a real problem with various resources. You can see here in this graphic comparing traditional learning and problem-based learning, where traditional learning is where students are told what they need to know, memorize the information, and then a problem is assigned to illustrate how to use it. With PBL, or problem-based learning, the problem is assigned, students are then asked to identify what they know, and then learn and apply to solve the problem. The PBL theory is unique because learners spend time to reflect on their experiences and techniques while solving the problem presented. Problem-based learning has been increasingly popular in various disciplines and adopted by many institutions. Due to PBL featuring a hands-on approach to teaching and learning, many professional fields such as medicine, engineering, and education have adopted the PBL learning theory. These disciplines have adopted PBL because the learning theory stresses diagnosis and application of knowledge in order to reach an accessible range of possible solutions. Problem-based learning also normally takes place in small groups of 8 to 10 learners, where a tutor or instructor oversees the group. The ultimate goal of PBL is for self-directed learning, independent learners, and lifelong learners. Let's take a look at some of the history of problem-based learning. Problem-based learning has a long history as a learning theory. These ideas can be traced as far back as ancient Greek philosophers from the 4th and 5th century BC. The metaphysical perspective peaked when the trio Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle fundamentally changed views of knowledge of acquisition. These ancient philosophers believed that students should question their knowledge and discover truths themselves. These assumptions and beliefs are inherent in problem-based learning, where students are asked to question their knowledge when presented with new and complex problems. Plato also believed that learning should not be forced but should be taught in the form of play. And problem-based learning asks students to solve problems in simulated contexts and environments. A little more recent history of problem-based learning would be William Hurd Kirkpatrick and John Dewey. Both examine situated learning in meaningful tasks such as case-based instruction and project-based learning. Kirkpatrick believed that the role of the teacher should be that of a guide as opposed to an authoritarian figure. Kirkpatrick believed that children should direct their own learning according to their interests and should be allowed to explore their environment, expressing their learning through natural senses. John Dewey once stated, schools should be less of a preparation of life and more like life itself. Dewey's ideas went on to influence many other influential explorational models and advocates. Problem-based learning incorporates Dewey's ideas pertaining to learning through active inquiry. Both argue the importance of practical learning. Problem-based learning is an approach that acknowledges that learners should develop metacognitive skills. It is also expected that learners use reasoning abilities to solve and manage complex problems. An even more modern history of problem-based learning would be Howard Burroughs. Howard Burroughs conducted basic research on clinical reasoning processes. He joined the Faculty of Medicine at McMaster University. It's where he argued that the teaching of medicine should be organized in a way that emulates the reasoning of a skilled practitioner. Rather than presenting information to students in a decontextualized, discipline-based way, Burroughs proposed that students should be allowed to engage new information in the context of solving authentic clinical problems. In the course of exploring a problem, students in PBL curriculum identifies deficiencies in their understanding and identify their own resources for readdressing these deficiencies. This is thought to foster skills for a lifelong learning. Traditionally, the assessment of student learning in medical education relied mostly on written exams, but Burroughs proposed there should be a more competent practitioner to be assessed using paper and pencil. Burroughs' pioneering work on training actors to serve as simulated patients opened the door to a new way of evaluating clinical skills. Simulated patients could be used to test the students' interactional and problem-solving skills. This kind of performance-based assessment has now been incorporated into national licensure exams for all U.S. medical students. Let's also look and see how problem-based learning compares to project-based learning. Problem-based learning, you see from this graphic here, is where it's individual or groups. A teacher defines the problem, and a teacher usually defines action steps and creates a product with project-based learning. With problem-based learning, it's more assigned to groups. Students define the problem, and students identify action steps while also creating a solution. However, both of them have a teacher as a guide, students are at the center, and both contain real-world connections. Also, both have active learning in both learning theories. Project-based learning is often multidisciplinary and longer as well, and whereas problem-based learning is more likely to be a single subject and shorter. As you see from this next graphic, project-based learning is usually 1 or 2 standards, where problem-based learning has 4+ standards, and problem-based learning is usually 2+ weeks, where project-based learning is 1 to 4 days. Let's also look at applying problem-based learning in real-world situations. In my own experience, I have done adjunct teaching for a community college where we taught students how to develop an online course. And so as we were going through and teaching the students how to develop some type of website to use for their course, they were asked to meet with clients through the department staff or faculty. And they first would determine specific needs and then share their ideas and show development process, and then finally launch the site. What my students liked most about this course was they were able to see their site being used by the college. And this was applying problem-based learning, because these groups of students were usually small, 5 to 6 students, and it showed them how to build collaboration skills as well. PBL also acknowledged that each individual's contribution is necessary for the team's success. So in my particular assignment, each student had to build from their own skills for the overall team success. In this manner, students are both learners and teachers. Problem-based learning also fosters collaboration and communication, recognizing the importance of individual contribution, while also applying learning to real-world problems. I also like to close my presentation with this quote from John Dewey, that education, therefore, is a process of living and not a preparation for future living. Thank you for watching.